Today I've got way too much cabling going on, and it took me like an hour to set this up, but here I am. I've got the Peavey Bandit over here, which is a legendary Swedish death metal solid-state combo amp. It's not the world's fanciest amp, but it has a cult following. The serial says this amp is from 1989, which puts it right in the years we're looking for. This is when it was labeled as the Solo Series Bandit 112. A little later reversion to this model that's very similar is the Teal Stripe, which might be the most sought after. The Teal Stripe is almost identical to this, but it does have a mid control on the high gain channel, which would be nice if this one had, as well as a mid shift that changes how that mid control functions. Another cool thing about this amp, it has a real spring reverb, and I think it did for a while. I'm not sure if the current ones do anymore. They probably went to digital. There have been many Peavey Bandits over the years. There's a lot of different revisions. They're still making them today, though I don't know how similar they are to these old ones. The 80s, late 80s, early 90s is kind of what we think of as the classic years for those of us who are into the Swedish death metal thing. This edition had either the Scorpion speaker or the Sheffield speaker, and it usually has a badge on the front. This one had its badge missing, but I've looked at pictures of both. It's definitely a Scorpion speaker. It does have a slight slant to the front, which in a closed back cab I would think would be good. For an open back, it probably doesn't make any difference, but it looks kind of cool. It's very loud, and it's pretty heavy. I'm not sure the exact weight. I'd say probably around 50 or 60 pounds. And it's 80 watts on this model, which is very loud. Also doesn't really get quiet. So I've got a few other things to help me shape the sound today, hopefully, and we're going to test out with a couple different mics. And this video, I will say, does not have an HM2 in it, but I will do a follow-up video with the HM2. I just wanted to kind of look at the amp on its own today, and then we can talk about how it works with the HM2, because of course that's the classic combination here. And I have another cool treat today, which is the ATM41 Audio-Technica microphone. It's a dynamic mic, also I think from the 80s, and this mic was used on some of those classic records in combination with Peavey amps, and so we're going to see how that sounds. I've also got an SM57 as a reference. They're both mic'd up on the cap edge of the speaker, and this amp has a preamp out, so that is running into the computer, which I am going to throw on some IRs from my 412. I just made the Cab Pack 4 set of IRs with all my cabs, including bass cabs. You can check out the video for it. Download those. They're cool. So I'm going to be using the SM57 cap edge from the 412 with V30s. So we're going to get all of the sounds, right? And they're all hopefully going to be, they're all the same mic position. So we can see how the different speakers and cabs and mics all pick this up. And I will also be later shooting some IRs of this cab and this mic. And I guess I'll go back and do some more on my 412 with ATM41, see how that works. So the Peavey line that is well known amongst the HM2 fans has the Rage, the Bandit, and the Supreme, which is a head. The Rage is an even smaller combo, and the Bandit is the 112. So the Peavey Supreme is kind of the S tier for this kind of stuff, because it is a head. You can use it with a 412. This one doesn't have a speaker out, though I suppose I could modify it. I've seen people turn them into heads. So with the preamp out, we can go straight to IRs. It does not have the solid state power amp in there, but I think that's going to be okay because it's a solid state power amp. It really shouldn't be adding anything to the signal. So it should essentially sound the same as if I were to mod this and hook it up to a 412. Here is my Bandit setup, and it's a little bit complicated looking, but it's not too bad. I've got the noise reducer, which is just a clone of the Boss NS2. So this allows me to do the 4-cable wiring and have my guitar signal, the clean guitar, actually trigger the gate, but then both the Klon here, the Golden Horse, and the amp gain can be gated out based off the clean guitar signal. So that's a cool thing you can do, and can be a little confusing to set up, but I've got that running. And then I've got the Golden Horse, a Klon, just to see how it sounds with an overdrive in front of it, if it works or not, if it helps the amp, who knows. And then I've got this 10-band EQ, and this is going to be for volume attenuation because, as I said, this is very loud, and also for EQ shaping. This speaker, I did notice when I was playing it the other day, is kind of very mid-heavy, could use a little bass. That's kind of just because it's an open-backed 112. It's not bad sounding, but it's not maybe quite as metal as you might want it. I've also got a switcher down below, my MIDI crab, where I can switch between the 57, the ATM41, and the IR tone, so we can get a sense of how it sounds with different speakers, mics, and cabs. And yeah, let's get into it. So it's a lovely clean channel. I think nothing fancy going on there except the spring reverb is real and sounds great. And the EQ sounds pretty great. I think on the bright channel, neck pickup, I've got everything rolled up a little bit except for the bass, but it sounds good at noon, so I don't really have any complaints. It's got sort of that jazzy kind of sound. I think the speaker works well with the clean channel, and I like it. I really like it. Let's just see for fun how the Klon reacts with the clean channel and some reverb for some of our crunchier tones. So it sounds pretty good. Not going to be your best in the world edge of breakup sound, but I think that's certainly a usable tone. And I'm also eager to see how the Klon works with a high gain setup. So let's switch over to the Super Sat channel, aka the lead channel, and we're going to see how it goes. Now, on the lead channel, the EQ section of the clean channel doesn't do anything. So we have just low and high controls, which is one reason I've got this EQ pedal. And that's it. That's really all the controls we've got. So I'm going to take off the gain. We're going to start without the Klon, and I'm going to reset my EQ to noon here. And the lead channel is also extra loud. So we might need to drop the volume on that just a bit. So with it just at noon like that, I think that this amp really kind of needs these lows, and we can even take it to the extreme if we want. But let's start with just boosting up the lows about like so. I think it's got plenty of highs. Might even like to cut out some of the fizziness with EQ. That sounds pretty awesome with the bass way up like that. I mean, I can feel it here in the room, and it's a tighter, punchier, a little higher bass than like a 412 will give you, but it feels good. It's like a kind of chest resonance. I like that. I think we can improve with the EQ a little bit. Let's also just turn on the Klon. I'm gonna try to use it as a boost and roll back the gain. And I don't know if it really needs more gain. It's got a lot of gain, but maybe we can get a little boosted tube screamer kind of sound. That sounds pretty mean. Not the world's best mids right now, but that sounds pretty gnarly to me. I think I like what the Klon is doing. I've got it with a little bit of extra gain. I've got a little bit of that upper mid push, though I think we can refine it a little bit here with the EQ. But first, let's check that boosted sound with each of the mics. So starting with SM57, 41, then the 412 DI. So now I can see with the high gain channel why the ATM41 is a sort of classic mic for this. Now, I don't know if that was just because they were cheap. They're still cheap. I think I paid about $30 shipped with this used. It was a little grimy, but I cleaned it out and it works. It's definitely darker though than the 57. It doesn't have nearly that same treble aggression. It's quite a bit darker. But in this case, I think it sounds the best right now. It just seems to soften some of those extreme fizzly highs that kind of make this sound smaller and more solid state. So that's a big plus for it. So I'm liking that. Let's see if we can make some little improvements with the EQ and see where it goes from there. Yeah, giving it a little mid-scoop there, especially the 500 and 1K seems to make it sound a little more like a 412, but a lot of that's just going to be the speaker and the cab. So, you know, if I was recording this, it might be smarter to just leave the EQ out, do it in post, and put it through a 412 cab. I think that would solve some of the 112 open-backed kind of honkiness it's got, but this sounds kind of cool, and it works. I don't think it's taking out too much of the character, but it is definitely making it a little more metal sounding. So let's compare that with the ATM and then see if it sounds too scooped on the 412. One thing I will say for sure about this, I love the ATM41 with it. I'm a huge fan of the SM57. I think the ATM41 wins out for this cab as the winner mic. So you can also find these, if you're lucky, for pretty cheap on eBay. Look around for them. I don't know how many are out there, so you want to grab them up, but I saw a few the other day that are pretty cheap. So if you can, yeah, ATM41. Apparently it was used on some old, maybe I think some Entombed records, along with I don't know if they ever recorded with a Bandit. I think they did at one point. I know they used the Supreme 160, the head version, but it's a pretty similar amp. Not sure the cab they were using, but I have heard that it was used on some of those records, and certainly it's in the family with other amps that were. So, cool amp, cool mic, and it works for more than just Swedish death metal. I do think it's an awesome amp. We're going to see how it sounds with the HM2. I think for those who like that particular genre and kind of sound, it's great. Though I'd say it's an amp that kind of could work for anyone. If you find one on the local market used for a reasonable price, certainly under 200, I'd say 150 or below is good. Yeah, pick one up. Smash like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.